Welcome to the Riding in the Weeds podcast, where we tackle life's inevitable challenges, from navigating mountain bike trails to overcoming business hurdles and forging deeper connections with pets and people. It's easy to find yourself tangled in the weeds, but we're here to help with insights and strategies that'll get you out of the weeds. Our goal is to boost your performance in both sports and everyday life by sharing essential skills that we've learnt along the way. Through tales of our entrepreneurship journey, thrilling biking adventures, and fostering meaningful relationships, your hosts, Natasha, Lockey, and Ginny, Branden, will guide you on a journey that's not only enjoyable, but also inspiring. Join us to gain confidence that you need to navigate the trails of life. Welcome to Riding in the Weeds, episode 59. Today, we are talking about slowing down and observing. This episode is for you if you find yourself going a little bit too fast. You find yourself moving through situations instead of actually just stopping, taking a step back and observing what's going on, whether it be the actual situation, your emotions, your reaction to it, how it's working. You're in the middle of fixing. You start to just react. And we've talked about this a little bit in our slow down to speed up episode we did a little while ago. This is diving just a little bit deeper into how slowing down and observing what's going on can stop us from riding straight into the weeds, straight off the trail. All right. And I am Natasha Lockey. I am your resident performance life and mountain bike coach. And I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Ginny Branden, our animal communication expert. Ginny, tell us your thoughts on slowing down and observing. Why is this an important topic for you?
Yeah. Well, for starters, it's a little bit of the culture that we live in right now is just to rush through everything. Being busy is a little bit of a status symbol, but when we dig in, that busyness and that speed is often covering up other things. So it can be challenging to actually be okay slowing down, but the value that I find in it is that often when I have taken the time to do this, if it's with my animals or even in my business or in my relationship with my partner, I find that when I don't jump to do something immediately and I just pause and allow some space, that things will often resolve without any effort or not nearly the effort it would have taken me if I had been immediately taking action on something. I have seen injuries with animals that have healed themselves over time rather than me rushing and fussing with something. They have taken care of themselves just fine. I've seen behaviors change. People have done things that I wanted them to do and was about to say something like, hey, can you please? And then instead of saying something, when I take a moment to pause, they actually will do the thing anyway. So I don't have to expend the energy in that case. And it makes it easier. I find my life is so much easier and smoother when I put this into practice.
Yeah, I love that. I think part of that really popped out to me was having a trust that maybe you're not the only one that knows the solution, and possibly trusting that somebody else's way of moving through something might work just as well as how you were going to do it, which does create so much more ease in our relationships and so much more ability to just let things flow. I often talk about in mountain biking the idea of the difference between responding and reacting. When you're looking ahead down the trail and you're putting yourself in the position where you want to be next, you can respond. The world actually starts to kind of respond to your energy. The trail, the bike, all of that responds to where you are, as opposed to you constantly being in this reacting situation, because you're literally reacting to what the bike's doing underneath you, which the bike's reacting to what the trail is doing underneath you. And when you're doing that, you are effectively just fixing on a moment by moment basis. It's interesting to talk about it in terms of mountain biking because you can expand the amount of time that you have when you're on your bike by just looking further ahead and then coming back to what's right in front of you, and looking further ahead and coming back to what's right in front of you, it allows you to trust. In the same way as you trust the people around you, you trust that this mountain bike trail has been created in such a way that your bike, everything is able to handle what's being thrown at you. But if you are going so fast that you're reacting, what I tell my students is you've got to slow down so that you can put yourself into that space where you're able to respond, and then you can start speeding up again. You always go a lot faster if you slow down first, observe what's happening, and then let the brakes off and let it flow. Careering downhill at mad speeds with absolutely no control is really only ever going to end up, well, it ends in two ways. You'll always be frazzled, you'll always be stressed, you'll always have a lot of anxiety, and you'll always be in a constant state of a mild fear. And it may also end up in crashing. Doesn't always. You might end up in the weeds. You probably will end up in the weeds just because of all of those emotional responses that happen.
Yeah. And the clearest example that I think I can give of this is working on training with our pets. And so often, I know I have been guilty of this in the past, that I see people and they start to work on something with their dog. They're teaching their dog to sit. And when the dog doesn't respond immediately, it begins the sit, sit, sit. I told you to sit. Why aren't you sitting? And it continues to escalate. One of the most fascinating things that I have seen recently is the Fluent Pet buttons. There is a body of research that's happening out there. You can look this all up online, and there's lots of accounts on Instagram and TikTok of people showing what their pets are doing, but they're using buttons to have words. And so the animals are learning to press a button to be able to say a word. And it's fascinating to watch because some of these animals now have over 100 different buttons and words, and the way they're combining them together is just brilliant. But what I've noticed is almost every animal, when they are prompted with something, or even when they choose to say something, take a lot longer to respond than what we would anticipate as people, or the way our language or our communication would flow. And I can't tell you if they're contemplating things or exactly what's going on mentally. When I connect with animals, things can come through very quickly. So it's not necessarily an issue of intelligence or processing. It's just how they are handling that type of communication. And it's funny because a lot of times the people will actually speed up the video. So you can see like the animal will press a button and then there'll be like a little fast forward moment. And then the animal will press another button and say something else. And they begin combining words together. But so often we rush our pets when we're working on things instead of allowing them time to process. And I think we do this in our relationships and with other people a lot. How well do you respond when someone is standing next to you going, did you do the thing? Did you do the thing? Are you doing the thing? Did you get to the thing? How is the thing going? Did you get to it? Are you doing it? Are you doing it? No one wants to have that kind of energy around. And yet we do it to ourselves. We do it to our pets. We do it to each other. We do it when we're working on tasks. We beat ourselves up when we can't do something as quickly as we think we should. And we get upset when we can't have an immediate response to something. And it only creates an energy leak in our lives that is costing us energy instead of being able to build us up. And if we can just find the space to slow down and allow a little more room for more possibilities and more time to handle things, I think the results would just be mind-blowing.
Yeah, I love all of that. And especially I'm like, I want to know about how do I get Tiaki to talk to me?
The buttons are so cool. I love it. You can look it all up online. Fluent Pet is the brand, and there's actual research that's happening. I don't remember with what organization or university, but there's a huge research project out there. And some of these pets are just so cool, what they do and how they communicate with their owners and everything. I've seen cats, I've seen dogs. There's a lady that has a horse that I follow. It's just so much fun.
That's awesome. I totally had something I wanted to say about mountain biking that was going to dovetail into what you were talking about. And I've completely forgotten that now because all I could think of was really cool. I could get my dog to talk to me. He's so amazing. You're absolutely right, though. The immediate response and that idea that we ask someone to do something and we expect them to do it right away. My husband does that to me all the time. I look at him, I'm like, dude, I haven't even processed the question that you asked of me. And lately, I've been finding that my brain is not firing on all cylinders right now. I'm trying to have a conversation, and if there is in any way any distraction, I cannot think in a straight line. I've burnt out my ability to be able to process and have solid brain thoughts going through. I'm unable to think about 5 different things at once right now. And it's great because it is forcing me to actually slow down, to have a slower conversation, to observe the way the person who I'm talking to is responding, and to think a little bit deeper about what I'm saying. Because normally I'm just going so fast. And I'm also trying to respond to things in a way that I've deemed to be appropriate. I think that's another thing that really comes into this is when we're trying to fix things, we're also trying to think for other people. When we're on a bicycle, if we're anticipating what our bike is going to do versus anticipating what the trail is doing, where our body needs to be, where we want to be in space, we're able to respond better because we don't know what is actually about to happen. We can't really predict what the person is going to say. We don't know what they're thinking. Quite often, if you actually just stop and allow other people to respond to what's going on, they actually step into the space that you've allowed to be open. And then they get to be them too, which just allows for so much more. I'll say it again, space and communication and connection and less of this constant preempting, which really comes from our trauma. It comes from our experiences. It's what we think's going to happen. We don't allow things to actually happen organically. We never get to learn what might have happened. And we just get stuck constantly in that trauma cycle because we're just constantly recreating the same energy that creates the same situation, and then nothing really changes. It's like Joe Dispenza says, if you wake up every morning and you have the exact same thoughts every day, then you're going to have the exact same experience that day, and you're just on this cycle. And if you can somehow break that cycle, then it allows space for everything to be different.
Yeah. I love the amount of possibilities that come out of this kind of situation that sometimes when we are rushing through trying to fix and trying to solve the problem, we get tunnel vision and we lose sight of the rest of the possibilities that may be out there that we're not aware of. And when we're too busy fixing something, those possibilities can't come into fruition because there's no room for them at that point. And so the only way you're doing it is the only way it's going to get done, instead of maybe there's another way to run your business. Maybe there's another way to generate income. Maybe there's another way to find clients. But if you're too busy doing the same thing over and over and over again, it's the definition of insanity, right? That's come up before in our episodes. And when you do that, you're not able to have room for all that possibility. And the biggest tool that I have found that helps to create this space in your life is meditation. And I know everybody's like, oh, God, why does it got to be that? I don't want to sit still. But that is really the tool that helps teach your mind And therefore, your body, that it's okay to have some space, and that when the responses come up, we don't necessarily need to react to them. That through meditation, you can learn to sit with the feelings that you are feeling and observe them in such a way that they no longer have that stranglehold control over you. And instead, you can just view them objectively for what they are, which actually gives you a clearer picture of reality, your place in reality, and how everything fits together. And that is the single tool that I think I can recommend. And it's hard. I avoided it and resisted it for years, years and years and years. And what finally got me through was one day I was just like, it's ridiculous that I can't sit still in silence for 10 minutes. Like, how absurd is it that I was unable to sit still for just 10 minutes in silence? And yeah, your brain is going to run around like the crazy barking border collie that it is, but that's the point. That is it. That is meditation. Sitting with that and beginning to observe that rather than be in that. It's like being able to be in the eye of the storm, watching everything around you rather than out swirling around in the storm. That's the difference that the meditation gives you the space to have. But it's hard. It's really hard to be able to sit through that, to sit through the emotions that come up and then the fidgets that want to come up and then all the feelings that come up and not react to them and not respond to them. But it's a muscle. It's just like any other muscle. It's like building muscles to ride bikes. It's like building muscles to ride horses or work with any other thing or get fit or whatever. It's a muscle and it takes practice. It's not enjoyable necessarily, but it takes practice. And in my opinion, it's probably the most worthwhile thing you can do for yourself and the people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been working on my meditation, and definitely the barking border collie is for sure there. The yoga practice, working through and moving through the pain and the emotions and the stuff that comes up is insane. It's so difficult to be still. And I was saying to someone yesterday, when you are somebody that has managed everything in their lives by just moving faster, like if I move fast enough, it can't catch me. If I have an issue, I will just go and I will do a workout, or I'm going to solve it by beating it to death. And I just can't do that anymore. And it's so frustrating to know. Another tool that I found to be really good is talking to people. They don't necessarily have to be an expert. They can just be a friend or a loved one. But as a kid, I used to get these headaches that made me throw up. And I was embarrassed by them. Well, not embarrassed by them, but when I would tell my mom if I was sick, she would always feel bad. Me being sick made her feel bad. That was the message that I got. And so I never wanted my mom to feel bad. It wasn't her fault that I had a headache. It wasn't her fault that I was unwell. So when I get these headaches that made me feel sick to the point where I would throw up, I wouldn't tell anybody. And I would go to the sick bay at school and I would not even tell the nurse that I had thrown up. I'd clean it all up because I didn't want anyone to feel bad. And then one day I said something to my husband and I was like, I think I get migraines. I was 22 or 23 years of age when I realized that I got migraines. My mom used to get migraines, but because I had never allowed space for this thing that would happen to me, I think there's also often other things going on. Before we jumped on here today, we were talking about the fires that are happening, British Columbia, Alberta. There are a lot of fires. Well, every time a fire engine goes by, I respond to it with a sense of like, where am I? Is my house burning down? Is everything okay? And I didn't really think anything of this response I had until one day I said something to my husband and he looked at me, he's like, well, your house burnt down. Like, no wonder you have that response. And I'd never stopped for long enough to actually reflect on why I was responding in that way. Very similarly to how a female literally every month is like, oh, I'm really wanting to eat lots of chocolate. I wonder why I'm suddenly craving so much chocolate. Wow, I'm a little bit irritable and I'm really angry at everything right now. This is weird. I wonder what's going on. Obviously, my partner is being more of a jerk this week and my stomach's hurting. I don't really get why I've got such a sore stomach today. And then suddenly your period comes, and this happens once a month. And every month you're like, oh, and we don't put the pieces together because we're so busy seeing everything in isolation. I'm taking this supplement right now that has actually removed all of my symptoms except for the needing chocolate. And so I now really notice when I'm like, huh, interesting. I've been really craving chocolate for the last week. My period must be coming next week. And it's cool because there are no other symptoms. So I'm more aware of the one that I do get. And I actually do stop and take the moment to think about it. And all this to say that when we're moving so fast, all we see is everything in isolation. When you're moving so fast on the trail, all you see is, oh, there's a rock. Oh, there's a root. I just remembered after you're distracting me with the dogs being able to talk to me is that quite often what people do on their bikes is they try and go round things. So they see a root or they see a rock or they see something, and there's an option to go around and there's an easier way around it. So they will do a maneuver which puts them off balance, which takes them out of a straight line, which basically means that there's a higher chance of them putting a foot down and not making it versus just riding through. But riding through takes being able to look ahead, being able to observe what's going on, being able to slow down, take a moment to actually see where the trail's going to go so you can make the decision of where you're going versus dealing with just that thing that is right in front of you at that moment in time. And when you can start to see the bigger picture, you will make better decisions, whether it's on your bicycle or right before your period or in an argument with your spouse. Your spouse comes home from work and they're being a complete jerk. You can either respond to that behavior or you can actually step back and be like, they don't normally behave like this. Hey, is everything okay? What happened at work today? And ask better questions. And then you become a more caring individual, you become a more empathetic individual. People start to think that you actually care about them as opposed to just reacting to everything that's just right in front of you.
Yeah. I think this goes along with something we've said before is giving yourself grace, is giving yourself and the people and beings around you grace to allow them to have their experiences without needing to change anything and without needing to rush in and fix something. Like you said in the beginning, it's about trust. It's about trusting that the answer is there and that you don't have to have the answer right away. I think sometimes we get really caught up in the need to be able to solve the problem immediately and have the answer right now. And it's okay to not have the answers right away. It's okay to allow time and space. And that's when you get better answers to the problem at hand rather than the quick fix, which is not going to be permanent in the long run. It's going to set you back in the long run. And when we can do that for ourselves and for the people around us, life gets easier and things smooth out. And I think it improves communication and just overall everything. But until
Yeah.
you're willing to allow the space, none of that will change.
Well, and then I'm also going to add to that that then you have space to respond to things that are actual emergencies. So then when things that happen that do need your immediate attention, that you do need to fix right away, that there is a problem and it needs to be solved right in this moment, you've actually got the capacity to manage that. I'm pretty sure it just started raining outside. It hasn't rained here the whole time I've been here yet. And it was really funny because I was like, oh, is there anything that needs to be brought in? Is there anything that needs to be done? Because it's raining. I wasn't expecting it to be raining. And also having the ability to process through and be like, nope, everything's fine. Bring your attention back to where you are. And I think that's really what we're talking about right here, is actually noticing something's happening, thinking about whether it needs an immediate response, and then being able to come back to focusing on what actually is going on, and then being able to enjoy it in the sense of the rain. It's like, oh, well, that's cool. It's raining. I hope it's raining in other places because we don't need it nearly as much as a lot of other places do. But
Yeah.
yeah, as we train ourselves to not just react, then we get to be able to respond. And this is one of the huge things that I've seen on my bicycle. You get to decide how fast or slow you want to go as well.
Yeah. It opens up so many more choices when you can just observe, take a moment to observe what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what is true, what is not true, what is the reality of the situation. Then you get options from there. You get more choices to be able to decide. And the people and the beings around you actually get to respond themselves authentically for whatever their response is to the situation without you mowing down. Sit, 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 sit. Without
Yeah.
you pestering and nagging, which doesn't feel good from either side. It does not feel good to be nagged at, and it doesn't feel good to nag someone. That is not a good energy feeling. So you can just choose to not do that and allow more space and allow more time. And it's amazing the benefits that come out of it. I know some of the people that I enjoy being around the most are some of the most thoughtful people who are not quick to speak up super fast in a conversation or interrupt. They have a very slow cadence to the way they communicate, and I love to be around them. And I think it's that energy of allowing more room for more space that doesn't have to be filled. It's like rests in music. They are as important as the notes in the music. And that without the rests and the empty space, you don't get the melody the way it is in the music. And so you are missing something at that point if there's no rests in the music. So it frees up more room. And I think this is just a great continuation of some of the topics that we've already been talking about. And another vote for meditating and dedicating yourself to an actual practice. I am back up to 130 some odd days now again. So I think I've only missed 8 in the last 2 years or so, 8 or 9. There's value in it, but it takes dedication and discipline to sit down every day, even when you don't feel like it and even when you don't want to. And I dare say those are the days that it's most important that you sit down and you do it. If you can brush your teeth every day, I think you can find 10 minutes to sit in silence and can tolerate it. I would rather sit in silence than brush my teeth, frankly, but both of them are important.
I think I'm over 50 now. So thank you, Ginny, for that. I appreciate that.
Congrats.
And sometimes it's literally like about to go to sleep and I'm like, "Oh, Ian, I haven't done my meditation today. Will you join me?" He really likes the Ho'oponopono meditations that they have in the Insight Timer. So it's not actually just helped me, it's also becoming something that we do together because it seems rude to me to just meditate by myself if he's lying next to me. It's like, hey, I should really invite you into this experience. We could do this together, which,
That is
yeah,
so
creates more
cool.
space, right? I'm pretty stoked on that. And then just really to wrap up what you were just saying is something that I was working with my counselor the other day was about learning to take up more space. And we were talking about an issue that had come up for me. And really, it came down to feeling like I hadn't been given space. And then I realized that we don't get given anything. We get given the opportunity to observe the situations and then see what the lesson is for us. And the lesson for me is that if I feel like I don't have space, it's because I'm not taking up enough space. And I don't mean that in terms of getting louder or more boisterous or bigger or sending my opinion out into the world. I actually mean by doing exactly what we're talking about right now, giving myself space to meditate, giving myself space to not be rushing around and trying to fix and do all of the things, to actually just being sometimes. And that's the space that a lot of us are actually missing. And so when we feel like the world is boxing in on us, it's often because we are not allowing that spaciousness to move outwards and taking up more room so that we have a bigger buffer, which allows us to do exactly what we've been talking about here. When there's a bigger buffer, when we don't feel like we have to react to everything in the moment, at the moment, then that buffer gets bigger. And as you say, people that have a slower cadence, we talk about this. Listen to my pedaling episode a couple of weeks ago. That's exactly what I was talking about, is having a nice cadence, and it works better and everyone feels more comfortable. So to wrap things up, take a moment and observe why you feel like you need to rush through, why you need to fix. What is the situation that you're in that has made it feel like you need to react? And how can you adjust, tweak, turn the screws a little bit to give yourself that space to be responding, or having the world around you actually responding to you versus you reacting to what's going on your bicycle, in your relationship, at your work, whatever it is. And that's where dreams come from. That's how you get to increase your performance. Because we were talking about this again right before we jumped on. It's when you're going too fast, when you're trying to fix things, things break. And then you're forced to slow down. And when you don't take that hint, it'll break again. And this is just a cycle that I am currently very much in, is slowing down. I tried to fix the feelings I had around my body the other day, and now I have a really, really sore hip and sore shoulder again. So I think it's time for me to become a yoga instructor. I'm not sure.
It's all a journey, right?
It's all a journey.
I love it.
All right. Well, if that's all from you, Ginny, I will start with the wrapping it up. I am Natasha Lockey. I am a life and bike performance coach. I am here to help you navigate the trails that you're on, whether it be on your bike or in your life, looking at your goals, looking at where you're wanting to go, and enabling you to create the circumstances within your life so that you can really appreciate where you are right now, and you can start to take the steps towards where you want to be. If you're not performing to your full potential, if you've got dreams that you're wanting to get to and you're just not there yet, that's what I'm here for. So you can find me at Betty Go Hard on Instagram, although I haven't been there that much lately. I'm definitely more active on Facebook as Natasha Lockey, and I pop into LinkedIn as well, Natasha Lockey also. What about you, Ginny?
Yeah, I'm Ginny Branden. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. You can find me on the web at soulpetconnections.com and on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram under the same handle. I am going to be able to support you if you would like to work through challenges with your pet, if you are having behavior struggles or emotional struggles, or are just wanting to get to know your pet a little bit better. Reach out to me. I would love to meet both of you and help get you back to a little more harmony together. So, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. We loved having you along. You're doing a great job. You can find the podcast on writingintheweeds.com and on all major podcast platforms. We would greatly appreciate it if you would leave your likes, comments, and shares for us. We love knowing what's happening with our fans and listeners. And if you have any ideas for topics, drop us a note and we will pick it apart. Thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.